Live, live and in living color. Just want to make sure if y'all out there, y'all hear me. Say what's up. But I don't hear anyone coming in just yet. So we're not there just yet. I'm making sure it comes on. Think we are almost there. I'm just watching for, and this is for all all the business owners, all the people that want to do marketing and say marketing is harder than what it appears. It's harder than what it looks. I'm talking to you out there that are just want to make sure. Yep, my sound is good. We're good. Okay, here we go. So I want to talk to you about why marketing looks harder. Like it's easy, but it's harder than what it looks like. And I'm coming on here if you want to have a dialogue, if you want to ask questions, if you want to talk about it. I'm here to talk to you about it. I want to kind of work some things out because I used to take people that were like damaged, like businesses that they were they've been burned, right? So I could talk them through what went wrong in their process of why they hired this person and everything else. And it took some a little bit of time, but I could earn their trust and I could explain to them why it like their process wasn't working and why as in that marketing agency process doesn't work. Everyone has a template, but as any business you get sold, there's a pitch, right? But in that pitch you have to understand what your marketing looks like for you. And most of the time, most businesses, they don't do a business plan. So that means there's not a marketing plan as a marketing strategy. So the tactics are not there. And now we have, say, social media, which is one of the first places people think of when you say marketing. And when you say marketing, they say, okay, you got to do social media posts. So that social media becomes the strategy, it becomes the plan when technically truly it's just a tactic. So with that tactic, people say, "Hey, I'm out here making social media posts, and then I'm putting out videos, and I'm not getting any traction." Right? Well, people say, "Well, that's marketing and that's sales." But back in the day, guerrilla marketing was when you would go knock on doors, door to door sales, right? And that was both marketing and sales. And this is where the two are not aligned. The marketing and sales are married, but they're not one. So why does why marketing is harder than what it looks is because people think like they can do it and they are doing just a tactic, they're doing a segment, they're doing a marketing tactic that is easy for them, but they're not doing the full system. They're not working the full marketing plan because again most businesses don't even have a marketing plan. Most businesses don't have a business plan. So if you don't have a business plan, why would you have a marketing plan that has a strategy that deploys the tactics like a social media? And one of the easiest things that's easier than social media is doing a newsletter, but that means it requires work, it requires forethought. So this is where if you have questions, I want you to ask them because these are things that you don't get taught in B school, business school. You don't get taught in taking a workshop. You start learning this as you go along in your journey, and you say, "Man, why is this so hard?" And I learned this when I was doing my nonprofit, when I was working full time, working 80 plus hours a week. And in these 80 plus hours a week, I'm just like, man, I can't keep doing this all. And the marketing for this is before technology. We had to go out there and do different campaigns, hit different trails, talk to different people, go to different events. And yet you still had to do these things that were, I'm going to just say, outright frustrating because I didn't have the team in place. So I'm going to tell you the four things that you need to work on. And if you don't have them, these are the four things you need to have when you talk about, or anyone talks about marketing, anyone talks about a strategy and tactics and why it works because we get all these ads, we get pummeled with ads, and what's not being said is crucial because you follow this person or these people, and it's crucial that you hear all of it because depending on the person, You may not like the way they do it, but by that point in time, you've already invested so much money and you're sucked in. Now you're like, oh man, well that sucks. Well, it is what it is. And so um, you got to grow with it until you say like it's not for me. So let me just start with the four things I'm gonna give you. I'm gonna just give this real fast because I I know for those that are like me, like just tell me what it is, and then you can continue listening if you choose to listen or not listen. So number one, about marketing, you need leads. Okay, without leads, you can't have any clients. If you are not producing leads, you're gonna have a problem. And one of the things that I faced early on in my business was that with the leads that I were creating that converted into customers, I had to then work on my cut on the customer that I just converted, and I had to stop doing sales and marketing, right? So you start getting into this place where you can't do all things and you have to delegate this stuff out. So you build a system that allows you to convert these leads. Okay. So, number one is you need to create leads. Number two is lead conversion. And I'm going to go deeper into this. I'm just giving you the high level summary. And this lead conversion is where you can earn this client, right? And as a lead, and then this process will allow them to, which is a system on the back end, and it's kind of like a CRM. Let's just keep it for simplicity. I come back to it. For simplicity's sake, it's a CRM that will allow them to be nurtured to where they are a client or become a client. You've earned their business. Number three, this is where you have to continue to offer value. Some people call this a core product, and I'll go into that more later. And then the last one is you have to offer options. Okay. So this is where, which I love my Chicago Bears are saying this, but you have to offer a good, better, best solution. Costco kind of breaks that rule of providing options of what that looks like, uh, because they were like, "Here's two," right? But you go to the supermarket and there might be five options because we like choices. But if you give people too many choices, then there becomes a problem of like, well, what really should I get? And then we get to the point where people don't buy at all, and we don't want that. So, all right, let me now that I gave you those four, we're gonna go into those four a little bit more. But I wanted to I wanted to talk to you about when I Googled it and ChatGPT. I said, and you can do this too. It says why marketing is harder than it looks. Okay, why marketing is harder than it looks. They said due to intense content saturation, data privacy changes, and the need to blend creativity with analytics, all while cutting through the noise to build genuine trust and demonstrate tangible value, not just chasing metrics or shouting louder than competitors. This is, yo, I got this. All I did was Google why marketing is harder than it looks. You're not going to Google this because you're not a consultant. You don't run an agency. You don't hear literally hundreds of people say that deny you that say we don't want your services, right? But this is what they vent to me about, right? It requires, this is what it's saying. It requires complex skills like strategic positioning, STP, segment, target, and positioning, customer psychology and testing, balancing artistic connection with data driven decisions, making it a constant evolution rather than a static set of tactics. That's all. If you Google why marketing is harder than it looks, which is more than likely not what beginners Google or any business owners Google, they just say how to do marketing. But what's getting missed is the fact that in you creating all this content, you have to provide value. And in this value, which they say key reasons why marketing is difficult, this is good. Information overload. Buyers are inundated with content, making it tough to break through and be heard amidst the noise. So there's so many signals saying, buy me, pay attention, do this, learn more. And if you are going to cut through the noise, you have to speak directly to them. So this is when I've said you have to get people to know, like, and trust you. In order for that to happen, you have to earn their trust and you have to give them value that they want, not what you want to give them, but what they want to receive. And that's really hard. So, this is the funny thing is because people will use social media as a tactic, as their strategy, excuse me, but it's a tactic. And they said the shifting rules on platforms. Social media, including Google, have changed their algorithms and more times than they have like in the last 2 years than they have, say, in the last 10 years. So it says social media algorithms change constantly, demanding continuous adaptation and data privacy regulations that create new hurdles for personalization. And then the last thing I'll say, and then I'm going to go into the trust deficit. Turning initial attention into real trust in sales is the biggest challenge as people are wary of constant advertising. So let's get into this because this is the part where I want to help somebody. If I can help you right now, if you have a question for me, bring it on. Let's do it because when it comes to your marketing, obviously, if you're in the beginning stages, you're going to be wearing that hat, just period. Let's just accept it for what it is. But moving forward, okay, moving forward, you're going to want to delegate this out at some point. And look, I'm more than happy to entertain the conversation. Let me put myself out there. I want to earn your business, right? But I might also not be a good fit. Let's just keep that real. I may not be a good fit. And that's fine. Find, like I said in the very beginning, find someone that you can work with because marketing is an investment and you're going to run this marathon with them until you have either said I'm done and I'm closing up shop, or until you guys reach a plateau to say, hey, look, I need someone different. And I tell people, look, I can only probably take you so far. So I can give you recommendations because there's much larger agencies than me that have more tools and have a bigger team to help you because that's what it boils down to. So let's get into building. Number one, lead generation. This is where you have an outbound marketing system that is extremely difficult to build on your own. And a lot of that is due to you creating a lot of content to determine what works and doesn't work. So this is a lot of failure on the marketing side of the house. Now, if it's just you're trying to figure out what works. This is like you throwing spaghetti up on a wall and seeing what sticks. There is a lot of pressure. And if you're not careful, you get into some imposter syndrome. I know even for me, imposter syndrome, where we're like, is this working? But this is where if you're not focused on marketing, like if that's not your specialty, what you're offering, and you're like, say, a cook or a chef, and you're like, oh, I got to do that. And when it doesn't resonate, you don't get any like conversions, it really hurts. But that's okay because it's not your specialty. You're not the marketing expert. I am. So I have already built up a callus of skin to where I understand 90% of the content that we put out is not going to convert immediate clients. However, it does build brand awareness. That's one thing when people are talking about, like you see in these ads, we can get you leads. One of the first things they're going to ask is what does your brand awareness looks like? Because in the funnel, in the top of the funnel, you have a top, the middle, and the bottom. The top of the funnel is getting people to know you. People are not going to buy from you if they don't know you. So the know, like, and trust, what do they know about you? Everyone's going to do their due diligence, and no one wants to be forced or pressured to make a decision to immediately buy if they don't know you. So it's going to take some time. You building that brand awareness when most of the times when people say, I'm going to go with this agency, this what they don't understand is the agency is going to evaluate what they need to do to get your brand in the position to win at a high conversion to where when you put money on the line, say in an ad, they can have a high ROAS, ROAS, that stands for return on ad spend. And so that ROAS, the lower we can get that, the more money we can put in ads because that means you're converting clients at a higher rate. But that also means that now they know, like, and trust you because your brand is now a no longer like a foreign entity. You're And we're not talking about a logo. We can say the logo, your colors, your name, your image, your likeness, all that stuff on a brand awareness level. People recognize it. Now it's time for them to get to understand what you do. So this is where the lead conversion happens. And so we call this in the middle of the funnel, we call this a nurturing. In the middle of the funnel, you are nurturing potential. This is where you take a cold lead and you want to make it warm. A hot lead is when they're ready to convert. You want to get them warm. So anytime, say you are, you want to, I'm trying to think of something that, uh, say food, right? When you say I'm hungry, I'm really hungry, what do I want to eat? You immediately go to what's going to immediately make you happy. Immediately can satisfy that hunger, right? And it could be comfort food, it could be healthy food. But more than likely, you're going to, if you're really hungry, you just say, I want it now. What's that place I know that's going to make me happy? So, we another term that gets used is top of mind. How do you stay top of mind of people when someone says marketing? Do I come top of mind with people? If I'm not staying top of mind with people, then I'm doing something wrong. That means I don't have enough content. But if they are already in my system, I have to nurture them. One way I nurture those people is I send out monthly newsletters. Now, some folks send out these newsletters like 4 to 8 times a month. Hey, you can do it either way you want to, but also depends what works for you. Because I'm going to get into this last one. That's going to connect, and here's where the rub, the the traction happens, right? Here's where you're working the middle of that funnel. And again, if y'all have questions, please let me see it. I see one comment that we're just going to ignore. Okay, if you have questions, put them in the comments, and I can ask them for you. Here's where the rub or the friction begins to happen when people say, okay, I'm doing this marketing. I'm putting myself out there. I'm putting all that content, right? I'm doing it during my 9 to 5 and say my 5 to 9 because it's a side hustle, right? But you starting to get burnt out. What begins to happen is marketing, that middle of the funnel portion of your marketing strategy, those tactics, that's where a system comes into where you automate. And this is where AI is changing the game for everybody. Your AI now can nurture people. And this is, say, for example, a nurturing is where you do a email sequence and you give people what they specifically want because you have segmented the people. Like, say, I do consulting, business coaching, I do marketing strategy, and I do websites. I'm not going to continuously send marketing information to my business coach clients. My business coaching clients, they need help with figuring out where they should spend their attention to. My website clients, they don't care so much about a strategy because sometimes they already have a strategist or they already have a team. They just want to make sure that their website is uploading fast. We're not having any issues. It's staying updated. There's no breakage. There's no problems. It's not down. Right. So I'm giving them information to keep them informed about how their website is running functionally. So I'm more so sending out reports more than sending out, say, informational or excuse me, educational content. So here's where it gets really boring. When you're doing marketing, like the things that you're passionate about, you don't like if or I'm sorry, if you're doing marketing when it's not your passion is saying cooking, this is gonna bore you and you're not gonna do it. That's what's gonna end up happening. So this is why that system comes into play. And this is why that core product that you're offering, understanding like what you're doing really matters to where like you can use this a part of your operations because now that is a part of your daily should be part of your daily task in your operations is you're nurturing people that are still interested in your services. They just haven't selected a date or a time to move forward to becoming your customer. And so this is where when they become your customer, now you have offered them because they understand how you work. They understand now what you offer. They come to you and say, "You know that one thing you were talking about? Tell me more. how that can work for me. And when that happens, when I hear a how question, like like how does that work for me? As you may watch any of my Can I Pick Your Brain videos, when I hear a how, that means it's time to move forward because now they want to customize to their specific circumstance. And now we can talk, what does that look like being deployed under their brand, their logo, to where now we can start helping them specifically. And that's where we put a proposal together, and then we send the invoice, and then we start working together when they pay that. Because you offer them a option of you have a good, a better, and a best. So let's just say you want something sweet. Do you want a piece of candy? Do you want a cookie or a cupcake? or, or do you want a whole pie or cake? Right? You have options. When you are providing options, if you want something sweet, right? Do you want a piece of candy or do you want the full pie? This is the difference of when people say I'm ready to move forward and you have a premium offer. Some people say, "Hey, look, I know I want something sweet and this little piece of candy ain't going to do it. I need the whole pie." If you haven't built your operations to support that, then they may come back to you and say, "Oh, I thought you were able to help me." And this is where some folks lose sales. This is where some folks don't aren't able to follow through on that brand promise that they thought they could. So here is where, unfortunately, when you're trying to do all things and be all things to all people, you lose the opportunity. And so your retention now is not what it was, um, and which hurts your conversion rate. And so you want to be able to also, get referrals, get word of mouth. You want other people to hype you up. There's nothing like, someone wearing your merch or someone talking about the service that they just provide. When it's a small business, it's just them. They don't may not have time to do like a testimonial, but when they do, it's going to be fire, right? Um, and what it looks like is always going to be different. I'm just putting my computer down because I want to talk to you about when you're doing this strategy. You need to be honest with where you're at, the lifestyle that you have, and where you want to go with it because you're now building this lifestyle, or excuse me, this strategy for your specific lifestyle to support it. So here's where you don't want to, and let me be clear. Here's where like you can say where you're going with this, Nathan, is you don't want to over promise and under deliver. If you are over promising to under deliver, you're gonna hate your life. And let me give you an example. I had this one client for a short amount of time. It was a referral. It was a referral by and I don't want to give out too much information, but it was an organization that uh, was like I would say would be a perfect fit in regards to what it stands for, its ethics or ethos, its core values. And I knew two people that were there in the organization. They highly encouraged me to sit down and work with them because they knew I could help them. And that first time I met them, we moved forward without even signing it. I didn't sign a contract. I didn't even offer them a contract. I was just going off of GP, good people, and I'm not saying that was a mistake. But what it came down to is I overpromised um these services. It's not that I under delivered. I wasn't able to fulfill that because we didn't get the time to get to know each other. Now, this immediately created this explosion of a personality clash. We were able to work through it because what happened, they end up closing the organization down because there's a lot of things that they were fighting through. Because with marketing, you can only put out there with like what when I say it's an investment, this is a journey, this is a marathon. What they were going through was still a lot of growing pains and they weren't sure of their future. So when we were talking about outbound marketing and projecting the success that they already had, which is where they were going, they weren't sure. They were very I don't want to say scatterbrain. They were just it came across scatterbrain, but what it was a uncertainty of whether or not they were still going to be in business, and they did go out of business. But on my end, I got threats of you need to give us a full refund. We're gonna sue you. If you don't follow through, I'm gonna come get you. I had some threats made to me and my family. Like this was for real. This was a big issue, and I never experienced this before. And so, when you're creating this strategy, and maybe again, majority of small businesses never create a business plan, right? Because a business plan is technically for a bank to get a loan, but you can't get that in the first 2 years, so it doesn't even matter if you create a business plan. It's just for show, or when people say you just create it, it doesn't matter. You're not going to use it, so you can get going today without a business plan because there's so many. Now, I'm not saying not to, but when you create a business plan, part of that is that strategy and that marketing plan and that strategy, you deploy the tactics, you talk about this. And part of that is you speaking into your vision. That's where people get stuck because they haven't thought this through. That is marketing, is messaging, is creating that momentumous messaging that shares and tells people, you rock with us, we're gonna take care of you. That's why you can't overpromise if you're only gonna underdeliver because you don't see how it's gonna work for you because you are responsible for delivering that product or service at the end of the day. So if you can't do it, especially when folks are creating products and they don't have a warehouse, well, you better have enough storage in your garage to make it happen, right? So it's interesting when you watch Shark Tank, they's like, hey, I need to fulfill this purchase order. We don't have enough, right? That's a problem. That becomes a severe problem. But this is why marketing is a core function of a business. I do believe in some companies, it's more than payroll. Maybe not. It's a close third to second because marketing it could be depending on how large the company is, depending on all maybe not like a Tesla because they don't do commercials, but maybe to another brand out there that needs to get more establishment. The marketing is so much harder than what it looks like because people are not sharing their marketing strategy. You will never see Amazon's strategy. Now you can get people that tell you that we were inside, and you hear this in the documentaries of like we were told to do this, and basically they just have people working, 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 and they were getting from investors, right? But then you also have why marketing is harder in so many ways. Like if you look at Nike and Phil Knight, they were selling shoes. They were like, "Look, we can't do this on our own. We got to get athletes. We got to get celebrities." They understood that their positioning they needed the beast. They needed the lions. They needed the alphas. They wanted the top people in the sport to represent their brand because them doing it on their own was not going to be good enough. They needed the big firepower. And when they got the big firepower, aka Michael Jordan, to come into the Nike brand home, what started to happen? They over exceeded the goals. But this is where if you read Phil Knight's book, Shoe Dog, he didn't believe in marketing. And that's what happens. It's crazy. People don't believe in marketing because you're not taught to put yourself out there in a way to where you put it out there and then you have people help and support you and then you still focus on what you're supposed to be doing. Marketing is not a one time we'll just set it over here, forget it and leave it and set it and forgive it. And it is what it is. People will come because we have an awesome product. That is the biggest lie. You can have a phenomenal product, but if people don't know about it, how are they going to support you? So if people know about your phenomenal product, they still need to have a good experience, and that is for you to create. Why marketing is so much harder than what it looks like because it's nonstop. You got to put out this content. Like I again, remember what I said. I remember what I said, and if you Google Chat GPT, ask why is marketing so hard. Ask it why is marketing so hard. I'm just come right back to it, and I love it. They said turning the trust deficit, turning initial attention into real trust and sales is the biggest challenge as people are weary of constant advertising. And and I'm just gonna go through some of it just so you can Google it for yourself. Don't trust me, Google it for yourself. Focusing on value, not just volume. Many businesses focus on shouting louder, more posts, more ads, instead of providing real value and understanding of customers and building trust, leading to failure. It's not about more, more, more. Are you talking directly to your people? This is why I love helping small businesses that can afford me, right? Because I used to go to the bottom of the barrel and I used to beg, like, hey, I'll do this, please let me get your business. And then it'd be a horrible experience for both of us. And try to realize people that want marketing, they understand the value of marketing. I don't need to, when the pandemic hit, I no longer needed to tell people that they needed to have a digital presence. That pandemic, I went from pre-pandemic pretty much begging my clients to start a social media page to now, oh my god, now they're like, "How do I show up on social media?" And I know there's social media, but which social media platform, blah, blah, blah. And I know you said this, and I'm like, "Hey, look, if you want me to help you, you need to hire me. I'm done sitting down, having coffee chats, and having you pick my brain. It's either you are fully committed to this or you're not. If you're not committed to your own vision, and this is the easy part. And here, let me let me just make this really clear. This is really simple. They want me to commit to their vision before they have committed to their vision. Why am I going to commit to your vision when you're not even sure if you want to put an ad out on it? Whenever I ask, this is my qualifying question. How much money do you want to spend on marketing, as in an ad? And they were like, "Ooh." When I get like, "Oh, you want me to spend money on it?" Yeah. If you don't want to put an ad out there, then you're never gonna get you're never gonna get to the place you wanna be. You have to spend money in advertising. If you're not spending your money in advertisement, how are people gonna get to know you? The algorithms are not set up for you to go viral and people to get to know, like, and trust you. This is where even the top marketers, when I look at from Alex Hormozi, he's crushing it, right? You still have Gary Vee, you have Neil Patel, you have Alan Dib, man, got his name. Uh, oh, Alan Dibbs. Oh man, he does lean marketing. You have who's the ClickFunnels guys, Russell Brunson. All those people right now, marketers, they are running ads like crazy, even though they have their own product that you can buy over counter. You can go to their website, you can buy. Why are they running ads? Because they too understand that the way we're going with artificial intelligence, AI coming in, disrupting the whole ecosystem, they are going to lose all their customers if they don't stay relevant and meeting them in their needs because their needs of what has happened in the last, say, year, maybe 2 years of the vision of how they wanted to create their company has completely changed. Has completely changed. It has completely changed the game, and now they're no longer in control of what they thought was gonna be their retirement, or you know what I'm saying? So, I think it's the vision that what separates a lot from most when we look at Amazon. They knew what exactly they wanted. Jeff Bezos, tip my hat off, the dude's just making money in seconds. What yeah, anyways, I won't go there, but he had a vision and he started real simple with books, right? And from books, now look at all the things that they do and look at all the companies he acquired, right? Zappos is one of them. Zappos is one of them. Anyways, I'm not gonna go down that train. All I want you to understand is having the vision to help you create your marketing strategy. Again, these are things where you need to hire someone. If it's not me, go find someone that's going to run this journey with you because you can't do it by yourself. This is why marketing is so hard because it's a full contact sport that is every single day, but you do it to your lifestyle, how you want it to show up for you and your business. Now, if you had questions, I wanted to see it in the chat versus this silly little person that put this whatever in here. If you had questions, this is where I'll come back on next week as well. I want to talk about this because marketing doesn't have to be hard. It's already hard right now, but it doesn't have to be harder than what it is. And when you figure out how to do that, and it doesn't even have to be for a job, it can be for you too. And what you want to do. What is your vision? What do you want? And that's when you start figuring out what you want and how you want to show up, your marketing becomes so much easier. It makes it so beautiful too when I see my clients put themselves out there and they're like, oh, like I wanted it to happen, but I didn't know it was gonna happen. So you have to believe in it too. And when you believe in it and you see it happens, it's a game changer. I've seen it multiple times. I've from crying with clients because of success, but also feeling bad when I see that they're not successful because they had to close their doors, and it's because they had a really great product, but then they didn't put themselves out there. So don't be scared to not share it. It's worth sharing. If you're investing into it, you should share it. You should. Let other people know. Let them decide that it's no good. You don't decide for them to say, well, if it's no, that's the biggest marketing lie ever. That's why I put that video out. It's the biggest marketing lie ever. A great product doesn't mean you're gonna have customers. They still need to know, like, and trust you to where they love you and support you and rock with you. So thank you all for all coming. Just some of the Boutel House. What's up? What's up? I'm on my way out, y'all. Make sure for those I didn't like and subscribe, please do. I'm glad that I had you folks following all pretty much the whole time. I don't want you to struggle on marketing. So check out my videos if you want more help with anything. If there's a video you don't see, let me know. I'm happy to make that for you. Till next time, wish you the very best. Dream big and Godspeed.